I declare this meeting open. I advise that the meeting of the committee will be streamed live to the City of Adelaide website and a recording will be published to the internet. Please note that this audio and visual recording being taken means that your presence at and any contribution you make to the meeting may be collected, used, disclosed or published publicly by the Council, including transferring outside of Australia. Council acknowledges that we are meeting on the traditional country of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains and pay respect to their elders past and present. We recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationship with the land. We acknowledge that they are of continuing importance to the Kaurna people living today. And we also extend that respect to other Aboriginal languages and other First Nations who are present. Apologies and leave of absence. I have an apology from Councillor Mackie. Moving to confirmation of the minutes, I'll seek a mover and a seconder to confirm that they are a true and accurate record. Moved by Councillor Knoll, seconded by Councillor Kira. Members, do any of you wish to speak? Remember to use your electronic hand. And I'm just bringing up the electronic hands so I can remember how to use this. There are none. As such, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? I declare that carried. And we will move to 4.1, the Historian Precinct Shared Use Zone, and I'll open the floor up for questions. Members. Councillor Martin.
Hang on. Can you hear me? One second.
Jenny, is anyone else in the room with Councillor Martin and their mic open?
I'm not sure, Deputy Lord Mayor.
I'm not sure. Okay, we'll try that again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Not particularly well, Councillor Martin. Jenny, what's the issue there?
Not sure. Councillor Martin, are you in the Colonel Light room with Councillor Moran?
I think they are.
Okay. Yeah,
yes, I think per the advice earlier today, yeah, if you could head to your office, either or both, that would be preferred. Are you setting up shop there, Phil? Do you want to try again?
Yep, is that better?
Nope.
Nope.
No, it's not better at all. Oh, would you be able to move to your office and try there? No, I'm afraid that doesn't appear to be working. Shall we try Councillor Moran? Do you want to have a go at see if it works from yours? Are you still in the same room?
Yep. I think mine's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, yours seems to be working.
It worked perfectly well last time.
Yeah, I thought it did. I thought it did. Phil, are you still in the Colonel Light room?
Oh, that's fixed it. That's all right now.
Oh, his mic's not. His mic is not on though. No, we have to keep you distanced.
No, the CEO said it was okay to share a computer.
I'll be socially distant.
Well, hasn't your microphone on? No, didn't it work?
Yeah, no.
No, it didn't.
Hang on, let's go. How about that?
That seems to be working.
Good. I just had a couple of questions for the administration.
Please.
It's quite a background, isn't it? Just a couple of quick questions for the administration, if I may. It doesn't say how many businesses in the area were consulted. Do we know?
Through your chair, there were, as contained in the report, there were 46 respondents to the consultation. I couldn't tell you, councillor, how many of those were the local businesses, but I can tell you that all of the local businesses and the surrounding businesses have been approached through the process.
Yeah, look, my question is that I read the feedback, and none of the people who are quoted as supporting this are from the area, it seems. They simply say what their view is, and they nominate whether they are responding as somebody who is interested in the initiative based on council's criteria, whether they're a ratepayer or resident, but it doesn't say whether they are a local one, whether they're somewhere else in the city of Adelaide. And so what I'm just trying to understand is, in the information supplied, it doesn't seem to say that on first read that any of the businesses are supported. So I'm wondering if we can refine that.
Directors, are you able to circulate some further information, or?
I can circulate further information, but if it helps the councillor, I can also confirm that the original proposal came from feedback from the local business community and the people that try to operate their businesses in Coromandel, French and Cheshire. So it was actually initiated by the businesses in the local area.
Okay, and it doesn't say how many, it just says businesses. Was it 2, 3 or all of them?
I'd have to take that on notice, councillor.
Okay. And additionally, I noticed that we're proposing to paint the road in a variety of colours, a sort of a rainbow road. Are there any traffic issues, safety issues around that? And is maintenance an issue for painted roads?
Through the chair, to answer the first part of your question, the rainbow effect that's shown on the drawings is not the actual intent of the pavement markings. It'll just be a different colour, and the colour or the markings that are chosen will be in accordance with the Australian Standards for Road Safety in the Road Traffic Act, so they won't cause any safety issues. But it's not meant to be a rainbow coloured pattern. That's just to signify the areas where the different treatment will be applied.
And if it's not to be that rainbow road, what will it be? Will it be a red road, a blue road? I guess in this case it'll have to be a blue road.
Yeah,
anyway.
Through your chair, it'll just be a different colour. Councillor, I couldn't tell you what the colour was at this stage.
Okay. And just one final question. It's suggested that a fund supports this project, which I haven't heard of before. What fund is that?
Through the chair, could you just point me to where you're referring to that, councillor, please?
Yeah, sure. It says in the paper, It says it's supported entirely by the local roads and community grants. Ours or state government or?
Sorry, Councillor, I was having a little bit of trouble hearing you there.
You said
Please
local
repeat the question.
community grants.
Yeah, I just don't know. It doesn't say whose fund it is, but it says that the funding is primarily from the local roads and community grants. Is that a federal, state, or some other fund? I've never heard of it.
Oh, okay, through you, Chair, that's an annual fund that we apply to. We put submissions in for local area road improvement projects. Typically, we receive a small amount of funding each year. You know, sometimes to $100,000 or thereabouts, just to fund some of these small road projects. So it's an ongoing funding that we submit to each year.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Kira.
Thanks, Chair. I'm a bit disappointed because that street colouring reminded me of a bubblegum paddle pop. Anyway, the loading zones, do you have any record, or did you speak to the specific businesses who actually use those specific loading zones, the ones proposed to be removed?
Thanks, Councillor. Through Chair, the businesses have been spoken to, and as I said to the previous councillor, the initiative was actually brought forward by the local business community. They've been having significant issues with those two loading zones that are referred to in the plans, to the point where they can't actually use those loading zones because they restrict the entry into the laneways. And there's actually been reports of damage to property and buildings as a result of trying to manoeuvre in and around those loading zones. So they're actually an ineffective loading zone anyway,
Right.
Councillor.
Yeah, so the specific businesses who specifically use those loading zones, they're on record as saying that these are just not good for us, and we want them gone. Yeah.
Well, yes, together with there being still sufficient loading zones in and around those laneways.
And that was my next question. That they have expressed that there are adequate loading zones for them, because we just want to avoid a situation where businesses come to the council and say, listen, this is something that's quite perennial. Listen, there used to be a loading zone here. It was great for us. Now we've got to go elsewhere. I just want to nail that issue.
Yep, that was a direct response through the consultation, and 42 of the 46 respondents have agreed to that. So, yep.
Yeah, but it was the actual businesses who use the loading zones who have spoken to you directly, irrespective of that consultation, because I know that consultation, a lot of people who are not in that area.
Yeah, so the actual businesses in the laneways have been approached. Whether they are the ones that use those particular loading zones, I couldn't answer that question, but
yeah, okay. All right, so in your opinion, there is the loss of the loading zones, these specific loading zones, does not present a significant impediment to the conduct of business from this area?
Through the chair, I'm not sure it's my opinion that's relevant here. It's the response from the businesses and the project that's been initiated by those local businesses that front these loading zones and these laneways.
Well, I mean, the administration must have a view of some sort as to what the efficacy, the outcome of the efficacy of the change in removing loading zones is. There must be some opinion, if not some kind of informed, decision around this.
Through the chair, if it wasn't an appropriate position to put forward, it wouldn't be in front of you now for discussion.
Okay, so I'll take it that what you're saying is your opinion is it's not a significant impact, yeah?
If that's what you need me to say, councillor, to support your opinion, then yes.
Well, it's not my opinion. I'm just seeking what I would have thought is fairly standard. You seem really reluctant to put forward something that I would have thought is fairly. You correct me if it's inappropriate, please. But I would have thought it's fairly standard. I'll cease my questioning there, as I sense a sort of reluctance in answering these questions. I'll just stop there.
Any further questions, members? No? Okay, thank you. We'll go to 4.2, the South Ward Streets and Movement Study. Any hands going up for that? Thanks, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make sure, because the movement study, of, obviously there's so much work going on at the moment, but I'd be really keen to make sure that the movement study it also connects with the city access strategy in terms of how we're looking holistically at the whole city, Clinton. So just in terms of because this piece of work was started well before we started that, so I just wanted to make sure that there's some sort of connection between those.
Yeah, through the chair. Thanks, Lord Mayor. The work was done independently of the city access strategy, obviously, because as you pointed out, it started before that time. But the findings of the report and the community engagement will certainly be fed into the city access strategy and the outputs of the movement study. Yep.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, Councillor Martin?
Yeah, just I don't want to steal your thunder, Chair, because this is your ward. But I see that it's proposed that we just note this report and that it's suggested that we're going to engage in some greening as a consequence of the feedback. But the overwhelming feedback was about the inadequacy of parking. Both residents and businesses say that there are issues. Residents particularly are concerned about bicycle safety and related issues. And there's a real key concern about skateboarding and e-scooters. So I'm just wondering why we are just noting this report and going to plant a few trees when the findings of this lengthy and somewhat expensive study seem to be missing.
I think the approach was more so to factor this study into all of the designs that the city produces for the area. But Clinton, could you respond to that as well? Is that your thinking also?
Through you, Chair. Yeah, that's correct. It's also that a lot of the feedback that we received has identified some certain levels of service as contained in the report that we would need to consider through the asset management plans as part of the longer term need to address some of those things that have come through the engagement in the city, in the south ward of the city. The immediate greening opportunities as contained in the report can be delivered through this financial year's business plan and budget for the Northwest and Southwest greening in the city projects. And also we are coming to council across the next 6 months or so with asset management plans and levels of service discussions that will draw out some of this feedback that we've received, and we think that's an adequate way of addressing that and incorporating that into the longer term plans for council.
I wonder, may I ask a supplementary question? In order to assist the Deputy Lord Mayor and his business ratepayers, would it be possible to move an amendment to what has been proposed to suggest that there be the development of some strategy to assist Southwood businesses and residents concerned about more car parking, more paid car parking and less restrictions on current parking?
Well, that's a good idea.
Is that a question for me, Phil, or the governance team? I mean, you can obviously put any amendments you wish when it comes to the council. So.
No, I'm asking the Clinton, the administration. I mean, is that going to cause problems moving something like that? What would be the risks apart from satisfying the ratepayers?
Through your chair, I don't know that would cause any problems. It would be something that we would have to obviously consider how we would work with that and implement that. But if that was council's desired way to go through this, then yep, we could consider that.
Well, thank you. I'll talk to the Deputy Lord Mayor, see if we can't come up with something.
I can't wait.
Wouldn't
Any
trust-
other questions? No, okay, thank you. We'll move on to 4.3, which is the expansion, building expansion of Adelaide High. Any questions? Sorry, Sandy, is your hand still up from before? It is, yeah, okay, all right. Last call. Phil, are you trying to put, okay.
Look, I just had a couple of questions for the administration, and thank you for including the state government proposal on this development. I'm just wondering why there's no narrative at all about Building 7 that was permitted in 2012 on the basis of 3 at page 25. That is to say, that was to be it, and the government was to go away and look at other ways of addressing accommodation issues. And additionally, I'm wondering if the administration can confirm, and I can't see it in their commentary, but it's certainly in the state government report, that a heritage listed building will be demolished, that is a state heritage listed building on that site, will be demolished to accommodate this development.
Through you, presiding member, in relation to the first question, I bring council back to February of this year, where the state government presented to APLA, and subsequently that information was provided to council. That was on the basis of their follow-up from the 2012 council resolution. And if I can refer you to item 8 of the report, and it states under item 8 and 3, it says council advises the minister there's the need to provide longer term solution for future expansion of the school. That's when the state government actually approached council in February to actually relay on what their intentions were. And that is naturally a build up of the existing building on the site, which has been endorsed by council, and subsequently now on the what is classified as the school land. They're building on top, and that achieves 300 extra students. So that's the notification when we were advised, and council certainly had a line of sight to that. Also, naturally, as you would be aware through you, presiding member, and I think it's been highlighted in the media, this has been very well publicized. And this is now what we're talking to today is to actually come back and to actually enact the 42-year lease and to go through that process, which was actually part of the council resolution in 2012 under section 2. So what we're doing is enacting the 42-year lease. It is a 300 increase in students built upon the existing site. It was actually communicated to APLA and subsequently to council in February. The last question, Councillor, could you just reiterate that one in regards to the heritage building so I can assist with that if possible?
Yeah, certainly. And look, just in response to that, this is the first time the matter's been to council. I'm not aware of it coming previously. And just for the sake of clarity, I was referring to the resolution of council in 2012, which accompanied the then expansion into the new building, which is on the southernmost end of the school. And council agreed at that time to grant a 42-year lease, but was insistent that, according to the resolution of council, that the minister needs to provide a long-term solution for the future expansion, not on the site, but within the city. Within the city, not on the site.
So through you, presiding member, in response to that, naturally what you've got before you is the request from the state government in regards to the extension of the 42-year lease to actually enact that council resolution of 2012. Whilst they indicate it says within the city, the reality is, and without being overly argumentative in regards to this is currently within the city. It's within the site and it's built upon the existing site, so there's no further encroachment into the parklands. And the state government believes this is the best resolution to accommodate that and to keep students together within a campus without actually encroaching into the parklands.
Okay, and that question about the heritage listing is that the state government documents presented by Ekistics notes that a state heritage listed building will need to be demolished to accommodate this development. I'm just wondering whether it is the administration's view that that's satisfactory, or we should be concerned about that or not be concerned. There's just no reference to it.
Could we ask?
Simple, sorry, through you, presiding member. The reality is, are you asking, do we have an opinion in regards to that? Well, first and foremost, that is outside our jurisdiction in regards to being able to deal with that, because it's a state government matter within their land. So the reality is, I'm in council's hands in regards to the feedback to the minister in regards to the item that you've raised.
And just finally, is it possible for us to feed back to the minister that we're not really keen on state heritage buildings being demolished?
I'm through you, presiding member, I'm in council's hands in regards to that, noting that we're in committee, but from my perspective, I'm always happy to go back to the minister and to highlight council's concerns.
Flag, you move the motion on notice.
Okay, well, I'll move something on notice.
See you getting your marching orders there, Phil. Members, any other questions? There being none, thank you, Tom. We will move on to 4.4, the unnamed public road west of Nelson Place. Any questions on this one? No, okay, we will move on to 4.5, the unnamed private road off Market Street. Questions, members? No, okay, 4.6, street numbering on the northern side of North Terrace. Oh, Councillor Sim, I saw your hand go up. Did you? Was that an accident? That was, okay. Street numbering on the northern side of North Terrace. I think this is fairly straightforward. Oh.
Look, I'm sorry to be a stickler for detail, but is it the case that the numbering on North Terrace, for that part of North Terrace where Samri and other places is, or where they're located, has not been an issue because it was allocated by Colonel Light as parkland, which is why it's become an issue, and therefore the information presented to us by the administration saying that Light's visions and principles were to include the area in question, it wasn't the case at all. It was Light's vision and principles that was to be parkland. It's quite misleading, I think. But anyway, I'm just being a stickler. I'm sorry.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it is actually a fair point. Directors, did you actually want to respond to that? Or are we taking that? Was there anything to respond to there? I've lost you, sorry. Hello, Claire.
Thank you, through the Deputy Lord Mayor. My read of it, Councillor Martin, it was less around parklands and it was more just around convention and how Colonel Light had set out the city and the numbering system. The trigger for the motion originally was the building of new institutions along that northern side in the western corner of the city, namely Samri and the two new university buildings. That was the trigger for the original motion.
All right. Any further questions? I'll take that as a no. Okay, we will move to 4.7, proposal for the Santos Tour Down Under Village to be held in Victoria Square. Councillor Sims.
Thanks, Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor. A few questions for administration about the event. Are they going to be advertising for the City of Adelaide displayed in Victoria Square and throughout the city during the festival?
Through the Chair, as per our sponsored requirement, so if there is some agreement in place in association with that advertising, it will be through the sponsorship side. So in the past there has been.
Does administration, oh, sorry, Claire.
Sorry, particularly on the city leg, there's certain City of Adelaide sponsorship opportunities, and they're quite significant from memory.
Does administration have a view on how having a City of Adelaide advertising alongside advertising for a fossil fuel company, Santos, might interact with the City of Adelaide's carbon neutral aims?
I would need to talk to my colleagues to see whether there was any concerns in relation to that. I personally have some thoughts, but that's personal.
Does the Sustainable Events Guidelines deal with the issue of fossil fuel companies sponsoring events?
It's not around event sponsorship. So the Sustainable Event Guidelines are in place to enable events held in the City of Adelaide become carbon neutral. And it's more around how those events are set up and how they deal with waste and the types of stuff that they have on their event sites. And we've been working with event organisers over the last couple of years to help events transition.
Will we, as part of our advertising, as part of our sponsorship arrangement, would we be promoting carbon neutrality at all, or is it likely to just be a general City of Adelaide message?
I'd need to take that on notice, Councillor.
Thank you. Look, just to flag, I certainly have no objections to the event at all. I think it's a fantastic event for us to have in the city. But I do have some concerns around the involvement of a fossil fuel company and how that sits with the carbon neutral focus of the event and indeed the City of Adelaide's own goals around promoting carbon neutrality. So I may well have more to say on that in coming days.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Members? Councillor Martin.
Are we on 4.7 or 4.8? I'm sorry. 4.7?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, was that all? No question? No questions, Phil?
In respect of 4.7 or 4.8?
4.7.
No.
Okay. No further questions. We will move to 4.8, change to multi-year event license agreement, Gluttony 2021 and 2022 COVID-19 response for events. And I think I think Claire or Christy, did either of you want to speak to this briefly? Or I'm happy to take them as read.
Sorry, I've got two mice here. I've picked the wrong one. I'm happy to take it as read. It did go through APLA the other week. I think the important thing to note is that we are obviously taking a lot of this on a case-by-case basis as COVID continues to evolve. So what we're also hoping for is delegation to the CEO to be able to negotiate so that there's some flexibility in the coming months to enable events if and when they go ahead to have flexibility around site footprint. Obviously noting that we have a very clear events management plan just around pedestrian access and sites of significance. So obviously those types of things will still be adhered to where possible.
Fabulous. Thank you. Members?
Yeah, just a question, if I may. It's headed gluttony, but is my reading of it correct that we are delegating to the CEO the capacity to change the footprint or location of any event?
That ain't happening. Good question, huh?
As I just mentioned, it would only be in response to COVID. Gluttony have a requirement to change their event as a result of the build of the Quentin Kenihan inclusive play space. But there may well be other challenges associated with enabling outdoor fringe venues and other outdoor events to take place as a result of ongoing challenges associated with COVID. But as I said earlier, it would be in accordance with very clear and requirements set out in the event management plan for each event site.
But effectively, what we're saying is that the CEO can decide to change the event site location, significant changes in the concept of the event, significant changes to the footprint, and significant changes to the trading hours. And I just wonder, as a North Adelaide North Ward councillor who deals with residents who are often concerned about such matters, whether we ought not be consulted before the CEO simply reassigns events.
I'm hearing some echoes there, sorry. Yes.
I think that's furious agreement.
I think that's me saying something in the background. It's not on.
All right. So yes, as you hopefully both know, councillors, I'm very acutely aware of impacts that residents north of the city sometimes experience when there are events in the parkland spaces, and we've worked very hard over many years to make sure that we have some tighter sharing.
In North Adelaide and
I beg your pardon, sorry,
Sorry, you can continue, Claire. I've muted them.
Okay. So obviously, if an event was, for example, to take place that's already scheduled for Pinky Flat, which there isn't as far as I know, then any changes to that I'd make sure that council members were certainly fully aware. So we would use any delegation judiciously rather than recklessly.
Is there a further question there, Councillor Martin?
Oh no, I'm just saying that I'm greatly comforted.
And just please remember that the Adelaide Uni, we do not have control over any events that take place within that space. And I do understand that there have been some complaints, but we do encourage residents to contact the university directly to share any feedback or concerns they might have.
Okay. Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I also just want to add to the information there that is from APLA that specifically the request was that attention was paid to ensuring that there was general access and movement through the site, particularly in the area where the Gluttony site and the Clipsal site sort of met, and that was most of the discussion was around how to maintain access through the site, which I know that administration has taken on, and there was quite a bit of discussion around that. So I just wanted to add that when you're looking at the site plans that that had been addressed with administration as well. That's it.
Was there, Claire, did you wish to respond? Or?
No, that's spot
No?
on. We've absolutely factored that in. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Members, any further questions? No. Councillor Martin?
Only, Chair, arising from the Lord Mayor's mention of Clipsal or Adelaide 500 or whatever it's called these days. Is it on the table that that footprint may change as well?
Not that I'm aware of. There was a change made in the last couple of years, moving the central stage out of Park 15 into Victoria Park. That's the only change I'm aware of that's been made recently, which has reduced hard infrastructure footprint by using hard stands in Victoria Park. I'm not aware of any other site footprint changes that have been mooted at this point.
And just on that question, given that there's going to be a COVID testing station on that site for 3 months, is it possible that there'll be some impact on the setup for the vroom vrooms? I mean, they usually start months before.
Through the presiding member, obviously we will work closely with all events that are currently scheduled in Victoria Park, and we'll work with SA Health as well, so to make co-location as easy as possible, if that is indeed possible, but we'll keep a close eye on that.
Thank you.
Okay, and I just wanted to comment for all those texts I'm getting. The reason Councillor Moran doesn't have a little muted mic next to her name is actually because she doesn't have any audio plugged in. And so when you hear her speaking, she's speaking through Phil's, so there's no audio there at all. There is no favourable treatment for Councillor Moran. You see her talking right now, but you can't hear her. So I just wanted to clarify that. Fear not, she is muted. Claire, I just had a couple of questions myself relating to gluttony. Can we get a bit of an understanding as to how much gluttony has engaged with the sustainable events guidelines?
Through the presiding member, they are one of our leading events in the parklands in terms of getting on board in leading the way around how to be a sustainable event. I've got Noni here next to me if you'd like more information in relation to that. What is it you're...
Well, no, I'm just reminded of, I remember there was one section in the guidelines that spoke about trying to use sort of carbon neutral transport to ship in bits and pieces, as in trucks that use biodiesel, that sort of stuff. I just wondered if they'd gone to that extent, noting that there are various sort of levels.
I think the sustainable transport has been more challenging for all event organisers, but certainly in terms of other elements such as waste, I know that they've been pretty diligent.
Yeah, good. So they're still using fossil fuels to ship in all their equipment and such, as far as we know?
As far as we know, yeah.
Okay. All right, that's all from me. Members, any other questions? No further questions on that one. Okay, thank you, Claire. Thank you, Christy. We'll go to 4.9, the cultural strategy refresh. I'll be taking that one as read. Any comments on this one or questions? No, I thought it was fairly straightforward as well. We'll go to 4.10, Parliament of South Australia inquiry into urban green spaces. No hands going up there. No. Okay, all right. We will go to 4.11, resource recovery, organics, recycling and waste strategy and action plan for the next 8 years. Robert, was this for the waste action plan? Yep. Okay. Good. I'm going to get, just because it's a very large lot of work that's been done, I will actually be getting Michelle to do just a preamble and a quick run through, but taking it generally as read. Just because I know there's been a lot of interest in this. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Through the Chair. Tonight you've got in front of you the resources recovery, organics, recycling and waste strategy and action plan. These are draft documents that we are seeking Council's endorsement next week to go out for public consultation for a period of 4 weeks. The way the strategy has been set up is we look at 5 priority areas and 5 action areas. So they're really targeting the specific areas that we undertook audits for and presented to Council Committee last year. So they're normal residential development, multi-unit developments, of course, businesses, our parklands and public realm, as well as our own operations. And they're looking across those, the ways that we can target as much diversion from landfill as possible. Probably if you did nothing else and just focused on diverting food waste from landfill, you would get the biggest outcomes across all of those sectors, whether it's in our own operations in the public realm or for any of our residents in any type of development. We have, of course, a budget bid that has gone up through the integrated business and budget process, and that is linked to implementation of this strategy. If you're wanting to look at the very specific actions that we're looking at, they are in the action plan under each of the priority items. But over to you for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sims.
Thanks very much, Chair, and thank you very much, Michelle and the administration team for your work on this. I thought it was a really comprehensive document. There's lots of really good ideas in there. So thank you. I noted in particular the examination of investigating collection of organic materials in public spaces. I think that's really good. One of the things though, and I believe there was a resolution of council around this, was around increasing the number of general recycling bins in public spaces. Excuse me. Is that something that's going to be looked at as well? And apologies if it's in the document and I missed it. But my recollection is that we only have something like 14 recycling bins in the public space in the city at the moment. And I think just increasing the provision of those in key spaces, not only Rundle Mall, but other key locations in the city, would actually come a long way in terms of increasing recycling in the public realm, particularly if it sits alongside having more green waste disposal bins. Is that something that's being looked at?
I'm unmuting myself. So absolutely what we're looking at is a whole of system approach, where we're looking at waste, recycling and organics. What's really important in terms of the public realm is really looking at what are the land uses close to those locations and ensuring that you've got appropriate bins that relate to those. But it's not just about having the bins. What's really important to this systemic approach is ensuring that you've got the education and the signage and everything else to go along with that, so that it's very easy and it's very customer centric, so that people know what to do. So the approach that we've got in this is really looking at it from, you know, the bins on the street and where we pick them up from, but also when you think about the advocacy to ensure that, say, when we're talking to the federal government, that we're looking at packaging and making it very clear standards across Australia, so that people know if I pick up this and it's got this symbol, it can go in the green bin or it can go in the yellow bin. So it's looking at the whole approach to make it simple for a customer.
Right, but I think that's all excellent. But just to be clear, there would be an increase in the number of recycling bins in the public realm as part of any strategy.
Yes, sorry. Yes, it would.
And can I ask about e-waste, electronic waste? Is that something that we're looking at too? And again, apologies if it's in here and I missed it. I did have a look through, but it's pretty dense. There's lots of good ideas here, so I may have missed it.
Yes, so what we're looking at here is ensuring that there are a number of options for different types of waste, including e-waste and having community collection points. So there's certain types of waste or resources, shall we say, that you don't want to put in your yellow or your red or your green bin. So making sure that we have appropriate collection points for those within the city that are easy to hand. That might be at libraries or community centres or at CLC buildings. So yes.
Great, thank you. And just one final question. I saw one of the opportunities that's flagged here in the report is driving the circular economy through considered approaches, and it mentions a few things there. There was a resolution of council, which I think my motion of last year, looking at the concept of the milkman model or the loop in terms of this circular economy. Is that something that is being explored here as an opportunity, and how advanced are those investigations?
So a response to that is not called out specifically as an action under the strategy or any of the actions under the strategy. However, looking at those sort of end-to-end types of opportunities are something that we would consider and look at more fully as part of this.
So what actions come next then after this in terms of that consideration process? Would you invest resources in that based on the outcome of the community consultation, or would it require something more specific to be put into the document to guide that?
So for that one specifically, it's really around business engagement. So on the assumption that this went to the public and the public didn't think there was anything that could be improved, which I'm sure they will. We have a budget linked to this that would have a person specifically and the resources for them to engage with businesses, both around what are their existing operating habits and how can we assist them with their waste management processes, but also around what are the opportunities for alternative types of packaging that they might want to deploy. I think would be fair to say that we would be looking at the most those activities that are going to have the most impact in terms of time investment. So we would probably be starting with things like food waste, where we know there's massive opportunity, and low-hanging fruit where we could get some very quick early wins, probably before we would be going and spending a lot of resources in that type of milkman model.
Okay, thank you.
Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. Again, just reiterating what Councillor Sim said, thank you. It is a dense document indeed, and I'm going to need all those 8 years to deliver it, I think. It would be great if we can get the food waste down. The public bins, which I did see were through that, I think are really essential. I think, Michelle, we spoke that even when we did the split bin systems in WOMAD 20 years ago, we had to put volunteers there for 3 years to to help people sort of identify which bins, because the contamination was still a huge factor. I'm interested as to, are there points within this where you believe that we can do shared resourcing or shared initiatives with surrounding councils, in the same way that we've done our waste collection with a few councils? So that's probably the first question. And the other one is just in terms of how you see the reporting and the frequency of reporting back to us to see how we're going. Like, have we got particular milestones within this action plan that we can call out so that on a regular basis we can see how we're tracking?
Absolutely. So the first question around sharing resources. So very much our approach is to minimise duplication, not just within council, but across the sector. So our existing contract with the 3 other councils also includes education support. So building on that, and we're very keen to use the substantial body of work that Green Industries SA have done through the Which Bin campaign. So absolutely, it would be leveraging that work, and we anticipate doing more with that as well. So that partnership approach is really important, because people who are living in other councils, of course, come in and work in the city, and we want to have a consistent approach so they're not getting mixed messages. The second part was about reporting. So one of the key elements of this strategy is, and having an action plan is, through any process, that sort of plan, act, do, review, that whole process is very much about, we've got to set a strategy, but then that action plan will continue to review it, undertake annual audits. So we started those last year to really see what changes are being made in all of those sectors, and then it can assist us to tweak anything that we're doing. What's working really well, we can do more of that. What actually are we really not moving the dial, and be able to put more resources into that. So that that monitoring is really important to managing the outcomes that we're going to have.
Thanks, Michelle.
Any further questions, members? Last chance. No, okay. Thank you, Michelle. We will now go on to 412, 2020 LGA AGM. Any questions on this one? I think it's fairly self-explanatory. No, we'll move on. 4.13, Adelaide Oval core area boundary. Councillor Martin.
Oh yeah, look, Councillor Moran was trying to say something then in relation to the last item. Can you hear her?
I think we should leave the LGA. We never get any bang for our buck. It's a huge expense. And what do we get? Let's get out of it. That's my opinion. Often said.
It's actually my opinion as well. Anyway.
Oh, God.
I'm just not so divisive. Not so divisive. 413.
Sorry?
Yes.
Adelaide boundary area.
Yeah, look, thank you. Look, I do have a number of questions, and look, I've been through all the maps and I don't understand it. As this is committee, I'm wondering, can the administration present, as happens in committee, the maps for us and take us through each of the areas that are nominated as being transferred in title? It's very difficult to see from the maps. So perhaps Jenny and the admin staff could take us through that. That would be a really good start.
I think perhaps if it were a workshop, we would do that. However, it isn't. It's just a recommendation coming into council. Perhaps if, who are we looking at? Tom, are you able to walk us quickly through the changes for the benefit of Councillor Martin?
And put up the map so I can follow it, please.
Don't know if we can put up the map, but if you've got your papers there, Councillor, I'm sure Tom can refer to particular.
Presiding member, maybe I could assist the conversation. Is when the Act came in over the said site, what the delineated site was a non-surveyed data as referenced in .4. And what that meant effectively is it was an indication of what was the defined act or the defined area. What now is happening now is that effectively we're putting in what is a surveyed data as opposed to non-survey. It's not an increase in scale in regards to the dimensions of the site. What they're doing is clearly aligning it to a surveyed, which is a formal process which is required. The only other change to this is that Council is requiring the Attorney General's Department under Section 8 has required an easement, and that's under easement J, coloured blue on sheet 6, link 5. Quite simply, if you're going along War Memorial Drive and you're heading towards the King William, effectively there is a slip lane that's already existing there, and what they're wishing to do is maintain access and egress in there. So quite simply, they're just asking for an easement to actually come into place. So the site, what is surveyed is no bigger. It is actually the site as requested under the Act, but that was non-surveyed. They're actually just bringing rigor to that under the request under Section 6 of the report. And then what they're doing is requesting an easement. So they probably just to highlight for some of the elected members, if there's any fears in regards to future encroachments, this isn't the intent. It's just bringing a formal process to a close.
Okay, look, there. If you can't provide the map, there's the photograph.
That's the slipway?
Yeah. Now that slipway on the map and on that photograph, can you see the photo? Can everyone see the photo? Yeah. That appears to be outside the tennis centre. Why do the Adelaide Oval want the tennis centre slipway?
So through you, presiding member, as indicated, that this is an important piece in rights of way that leads to parking beneath Adelaide Oval. and it's understood that it was constructed to accommodate pedestrian safety, that slipway. So what they're trying to do is just preserve rights to be able to get into that car park. And that's what was actually built and has been before council before in regards to that slipway.
Hang on, that's ridiculous, Phil. That's nowhere near their underground car park.
Yeah,
That's bullshit.
Councillor Moran is saying to me that it is cow dung,
Yeah.
and that
That is absolutely
the entrance to the car park.
Councillor Moran, language, please. We might not like the SMA, but we don't have to swear at our colleagues about them.
Are you a lip reader? I haven't got any audio.
No.
You can be.
We all can hear exactly what you're saying, Councillor Moran.
Well, unless they drive around.
No, sorry, but Councillor Martin has the call. Councillor Martin. Councillor Martin was doing show and tell with the photo, so we'll go on with that.
So look, this thing here, it might be a slip road, but the car park is around the other side. There is no car park, no public car park. There is access to the paved area out the front of the, well, it's sort of down here a bit, out the front of the oval, but there is no slip road to a car park there. It is a slip road, and it's right out the front of the tennis centre. And look, my concern is, it is the Stadium Management Authority, and if they're seeking this on their title, there is a concern that there may end up a pie cart there, or you know, a beer stand or something, because it becomes the Adelaide Oval zone. And as we know from previous occasions, they immediately turn them into revenue raising opportunities. So, I mean, have we consulted the tennis centre about this? Have we asked them, are they happy to see this land out the front of their premises go to the Adelaide Oval Authority?
They use for their event.
Oh, sorry, I muted you. Thank you, Tom.
Member, just in response, could I refer to the elected members, if they look at section 9 of the report under link 6, and sorry if the technology doesn't allow it to be brought up, but if I refer elected members to a picture of this, and it's not a great image, but you do have this contained within your report. It actually shows the slipway, which was created, I think in 2010, if I'm sorry, 2013, which actually comes in off the left of the road and goes into an underground car park, which is adjacent to the tennis centre, and it's been there since 2013 with no objections.
I understand, Tom, but what I'm saying is this land, if you, can you see the map there? That photo, that is actually out the front of the tennis centre. It crosses over, and on the map and here as well. Have the tennis centre been involved in this process?
Because they use that for...
Through you, presiding member, first of all, the land that you're actually highlighting is not owned or under lease agreement with the tennis centre. It's under council control, and effectively what they're seeking to do is not to obtain the land, but to grant an easement to get access over the land into the car park. As previously indicated, there's a slip lane that was created there in 2013, which brings vehicles in as they go along War Memorial Drive into an underground car park, which is clearly indicated in link 6 within the report.
Yeah, look, I understand what you're saying, Tom. I'm asking though, have the tennis centre been consulted? Because when you go to events there, and I have been to the tennis, you queue across there. That's their entrance. That's all I'm asking.
Through you, presiding member, there's been no direct consultation with the tennis centre, because the tennis centre are aware of the conditions associated with that access road, which is also being created to assist in pedestrian safety as well. There's been no objection since 2013, and nor is Adelaide Oval or the SMA about using the land in question in regards to anything other than moving a vehicle across that land.
Okay, all right. Look, is it possible that we could at least, before the council meeting, have a word with the tennis centre? That would provide some comfort to me. And if I could draw your attention to this other link here, it notes that those circular areas would also go across to see these little circles here and here and here. Now, that's my reading of it. What is that about? And additionally, it seems like there's new area going across to the Stadium Management Authority just here. Look, I am sorry to be doing this. These committee meetings on Zoom are inferior, but it's a good idea to sort of, have the map as a reference.
Yes, but Councillor, we wouldn't have been able to bring the map up if we were in the Colonel Lightroom anyway, because these recommendations are going straight to Council and everyone's got the papers.
No. I'm saying you can see that screen up there. When we have committee meetings, you can actually have the things up there and you can point to them.
No, but we don't, because when we work with these committees, we're actually just working off the recommendation, not the papers. The papers are not on the screen. Anyway, was there a question buried in there, Councillor, or were you satisfied that?
No. I haven't had an answer to the questions to Tom. That is there an increase in the core oval area, which is identified on some of these maps, and are those circles here, which are referred to as having some relevance to the title, in any way significant that we should understand?
Through you, presiding member, in answer to Councillor Martin's question, there's no increase whatsoever. The circles are just to indicate the lot numbers. It's just for a matter of information. As indicated, the site boundary or the surveyed boundary is in keeping with what was understood and agreed when council entered into discussions with the state government in regards to aligning all the boundaries under the current lease and license. So there's no increase, and all we've done quite simply is just to circle in just to show that there's 3 clear allotments, just for a matter for information.
Okay, look, that's good. I am sorry that we haven't got a map to be able to show all this, but thank you very much.
Helen, you've been waiting very patiently.
So patient. Thanks, Deputy Lord Mayor. Just a quick one. I also had a little question about the easement, Jay, the slip lane. Only that it talks to it being asked for as an easement for pedestrian safety, and it's a slip lane which acknowledged not to be safe for pedestrians. So I was just I ride back and forth over there all the time, just trying to get a sense of how it enhances pedestrian safety.
Tom?
And I recognise that, Tom, you are not expected to answer all transport planning questions, so you might not have an answer for that one.
Oh, I think I can attempt to answer this through you, presiding member. Again, reference you back to the link 6, which shows where the slip road goes in and it turns around. The slip road was actually created to provide access to vehicles to go into that undercover or underground car park, so that it was actually in advance of the pedestrian crossing. So all vehicles actually do their left-hand turn or their turn into the site in advance. So it actually does assist in pedestrian safety. Otherwise, what they would have had to have done is took it further up and done basically what you're talking about is a 90-degree turn into the car park, which would have brought it closer to the crossing as you're coming off the footbridge.
When you say in advance of,
yep,
you mean simply before, not as in it is constructed immediately ahead of, not in advance in a time sequence.
Yeah, so
it was put in place.
No, you're correct.
Yeah.
So from a geographical perspective, in advance of what I mean is that it's been created so that it takes it, so there's a clear separation between vehicles actually making a turn into a car park and a pedestrian crossing. So it's done further back, and that's why that slip lane was actually created to assist.
So it assists pedestrians who are accessing from the bridge or
so
from North Adelaide, but sorry, from King William, but it does not support pedestrian safety if you're accessing it from Montefiore, because
the traffic actually, for most of the traffic that actually comes into here actually uses that slip lane, so they come along past the golf course and through and turn left in that slip lane. They don't, a lot of traffic basically use that direction for their traffic going in using the slip lane. There's not much that comes in and actually does a right-hand turn, crossing 2 lanes into that car park.
And do you have any data on where the pedestrians are accessing from? Like, is it that the majority of them are crossing over the bridge and therefore using the pedestrian crossing rather than all of those pedestrians that walk down the road, effectively, if they're going to a footy game from Montefiore, they just walk down War Memorial?
Through you, presiding member, I would certainly take that on notice, but I think it is clear to understand, even when we're talking even at last night's game, that there's a large volume of foot traffic that actually use that pedestrian bridge as a way of crossing into Adelaide Oval. Naturally, they're making their way back to the railway station and also naturally back to the car parks and into the city. There is a good majority that certainly uses the bridge, but that new bridge gets utilised very well during game times.
I would be interested to get advice from a traffic planner, because even if the majority of the, and it only comes up, I appreciate, because they're asking for access over the easement. I accept that it's been sitting there for some time and no one's really questioned it. But if the majority of the traffic is coming from Montefiore, they can still do a 90-degree left-hand turn across. It makes no difference in terms of pedestrian safety. In fact, because it effectively creates 2 lanes of traffic then rather than 1, and it actually would be holding up the traffic coming from Montefiore rather than, superficially, it appears, I'm certainly not a transport planner, but superficially it would appear that it simply is benefiting the traffic. It has nothing to do with pedestrian safety, because you can still do a left-hand turn there without there being a slip lane into that location. Anyway, I'm happy to follow it up in between now and council. And thank you for the answer.
Councillor Martin.
Oh yeah, just a very minor point, Chair, and one I'm sure that Tom can answer very quickly. The documents suggest that War Memorial Drive is not part of council property, because the alterations that are proposed by the state government will, and I'll just hold the map up there, will, yeah, that's the right way, will put War Memorial Drive under the control of council. Is that the whole of War Memorial Drive, or just that section there? And if it wasn't, under whose control is it?
Through you, presiding member, I'll use Rocky Farr beside me who can respond to it, but you're indeed correct that the area is under council control, but I'll let Rocky respond to that question.
The War Memorial Drive has always been a public road. This has been included as part of this survey to define the extent of it, and the extent is up to the curb, so that they're taking no more than they absolutely have to as road, so they don't eat into parklands. So it's really, again, same intent as the rest of the process. It's really just formalising what is already in place. The land tenure is not changing, it's just surveying what is already there.
Thank you.
Further questions? I'm not seeing any hands going up. We will go to 4.14, the Statutes Amendment Local Government Review Bill 2020 draft response. And I'll just pass to Mark for a quick preamble.
Thanks, Chair. This is an important piece of work. I might take a minute to work you through it, just so there's clarity over it. But currently the bill is in the lower house, and the timing and the content going forward is now going to be a matter for the Deputy Premier and the new Minister for Planning and Local Government, which is Vicky Chapman. So as you're aware, there's been a change in that arrangement. You'll be aware of the previous resolutions of Council, which were in April and October last year. And the LGA has requested submissions by Friday the 9th, therefore the need to come straight to committee and then to Council next week. Ordinarily, we would have had a bit of a workshop, although we have had a number of workshops in the past. Just to be clear, Attachment A doesn't form part of the response, it just sets out what we think Council will be happy with based on previous decisions. But Attachment B, which has the red, the orange and the green parts, makes suggestions based on earlier Council decisions or admin advice. And many aspects of the bill align with the feedback provided previously by Council to the two earlier stages of consultation on the LG reforms by the state government. A couple of key matters that Council has not been consulted on previously, or about which Council has in the past expressed concerns, relate to the new behaviour management framework, the introduction of a series of amendments proposed to the annual business planning process, requirements regarding nomination of a natural person to vote on behalf of the group or body corporate, replacement of informal gathering rules with information and briefing sessions, and the provision for CEOs to impose consequences for breaches of requirements. So there's quite a few things there. In addition, a number of City of Adelaide proposals have been included for your consideration. I just want to call them out, and you can either discuss them tonight or you can talk to me offline. First of all, the proposal that ordinary meetings of the City of Adelaide be allowed to commence from 2 p.m. rather than 5 p.m. That's in further to recent Council discussion, so that's within the proposal. The proposal that in specified circumstances, Council be allowed to conduct meetings online, and for certain Council members to be enabled to attend electronically, so that's another one. And thirdly, the proposal that rate exemptions for educational purposes to universities be reviewed. So those things I wouldn't mind you just being fully aware of within the paper. From here, the next steps is that we'll continue to update you on any in-house amendments to the bill, which may be introduced during its passage through the Parliament. So that's pretty much just the summary I just wanted to provide. Sue Riddell's here to help with any questions that you may have. I just thought it might be worth pulling those particular items out. Thanks, Chair.
Great, thank you, Mark. Any questions for Sue? I thought it was laid out quite well and quite clearly. Councillor Sims.
Thanks, Chair, and thank you, Mark, for that preamble. Just to clarify, are we able to give feedback on this tonight, or is it simply questions and more discussion at Council next week?
Yeah, through the Chair, really it's just questions for clarity, and any adjustments to the paper would need to be done through amendment. So it's really just to ensure you're fully aware of the paper and we can respond to any questions you have.
Just one of the things I noted in the report recommendations that the government has taken up, which I think is good, is around disclosure of political party membership before the election is concluded. Are you able to provide a bit more information on how that would occur, in what form that disclosure occurs? Is it on election material, or is it done on an online space, or how does the government envisage that would occur?
I'm not aware of the actual process. Sue, have you looked into that?
I assumed it would be on the biographical details.
Yes, I think, in fact, on reviewing that I would need to go back to the government and check for more details and ensure that actually has been taken up, because in the more detailed materials. I don't think that is reflected. So I would like to confirm that for the councillor through you, Chair.
Oh, thanks. That'd be great, because maybe I misread it. I thought that was one of the things that
No, I think that's
noted as
something I'd like to check and reconfirm. Yeah, based on earlier discussions, but I'm not sure that that's guaranteed. So I'd like to confirm that with Office of Local Government.
Yeah, that'd be really good, and it'd be great if I could find out before the meeting, because I might well move an amendment or something like that, looking at that if that's been missed out. I guess one of the other issues too I'm interested in is, has the government looked at the question of processes for board appointments for council subsidiaries? So have they looked at merit-based board appointments or anything like that as part of their review?
I can't, sorry, through you, Chair, I can't speak to what they've considered, but going through the 200 or so clauses in my head, I don't believe so. I don't think I've seen any provisions that would achieve that. So this is council, board or subsidiary appointments. I don't believe so.
No problems. There was some discussion in there around some, I guess, further clarification of the role of the Lord Mayor around working with elected members. Are you able to provide a bit more detail on what is envisaged there? So I looked at the comments, but it was fairly vague. It just seemed more like a general mission statement, but I'm wondering whether the government has something in particular in mind.
Yes, through you, Chair, there have actually been changes to the provisions relating to both members and the Lord Mayor in the City of Adelaide Act. It's at the start of the Act. I'll just have to scroll to that. It's lengthy legislation, as you know. Here we are. So the so this is in relation to the Lord Mayor. Section 21 has been amended of the City of Adelaide Act. Now that's in the various attachments, but several of the current provisions are retained around, providing leadership and guidance to the City of Adelaide City and so on, and providing leadership and guidance to council. But the additions are that the Lord Mayor, as principal member of council, would lead promotion of positive and constructive working relationships among members of council, to provide guidance to council members on the performance of their role, including the exercise and performance of official functions and duties, and to support their council members' understanding of separation of responsibilities between elected representatives and employees of council. And I think the others are carried over. It's from the previous provisions. So I think those are the key changes there, through your Chair. Would you also like the information about the roles of members?
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
So that,
and I guess sorry, Sue, I guess if administration has a view on how that would work in practice, is it envisaged that the Lord Mayor will do performance reviews of elected members, or how is that intended to work in a practical sense?
The Act is silent on how that would be implemented, but there may be supporting or guidance materials prepared by the Minister or the Government. In terms of members' roles, so the members' roles are retained largely as is. However, there's been an addition, and this is in the City of Adelaide Act, but it's consistent with what's been added to the Local Government Act as well, that members would be required to, or their role is to act with integrity, to ensure positive and constructive working relationships within the council, and to recognise and support the role of the Lord Mayor under the Act. The other new one is to develop skills relevant to the role of a member of council and the functions of council as a body. The others, which are, participating in deliberations and activities of council and so on, are carried over from the previous provisions. I think probably the best way to understand it might be to look at the Act as a whole with the new behaviour management framework that Mark alluded to, the CEO alluded to a short while ago, which sets out duties for members and allows for behavioural standards to be set by the Minister and policies around behavioural support and behavioural management to be set by council decision.
Thank you. Thanks, Sue. And just one last question, and then I'll promise I'll leave you to it. What about, you mentioned, the CEO mentioned that the rules are being relaxed around or reworked around informal gatherings. Are the same prohibitions on quorate meetings of councillors out of session being retained?
There is a change here, and this is one of those which is questioned in attachment B. So the informal gatherings provisions are removed at section, I think, 90. Rather than having the informal gathering provisions at, I think, section 90, subsection 8, new section 90A provides for information or briefing sessions, and they are required to be open to the public and only would be closed if section 90, subsection 3 grounds for confidentiality applied. And one of the questions which is raised in attachment B is whether that's intended to prevent council from ever meeting in confidence to discuss, for instance, strategic planning or have training, or are there other... so we're at this stage suggesting that council might wish to query the intent.
And I guess there's still a prohibition on a quorate group of councillors meeting and predetermining positions on agendas, that sort of thing.
I'm not aware of any changes to existing provisions in that regard.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Through you, Chair.
Further questions? Okay, there being none, I'll seek, we've got a 5-1 exclusion of the public, and I'll seek a mover and a seconder for 6-1 Lounders Boat Shed Cafe. Sorry, I can't see.
Chair, sorry.
Yeah. Yes, Councillor Martin.
Sorry,
Can
you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
I'm just conscious that there's someone moving around doing some work outside my office, so I may not be in a spot where I'm in confidence. So would you mind if I just moved office? I might go into where Councillor Martin and Moran are, so that I'm assured that there's no one nearby that can overhear the conversation.
Is closing the door not going to suffice, or no?
Well, just there's someone literally vacuuming right outside, that's all. I'm just not sure if they can overhear.
Oh, okay. No, understood. That's fine. Please move around at your leisure. We're not in confidence yet. I've got Councillor Knoll moving. Can I get a seconder, please? Electronic hands. Councillor Abrahimzadeh. Councillor Knoll, do you wish to speak? Councillor Abrahimzadeh. No, and I'll go to Councillor Martin.
You said yes, Chair, to me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The Are you in Canberra? The line's not good on occasion.
No, I'm right here in Adelaide.
Oh, right.
You are freaking not.
I actually am. Anyway, would you like to speak to the motion, or do you want to talk
I
about
want to
diary
speak.
and other commitments?
No, I want to speak against it. I just want to say to members that they may not know this, but this particular property has been the subject of a substantial debate in the community, an extended heritage rescue program, which cost ratepayers an enormous sum of money. And for there to be any discussion of it in confidence at this time is, I think, unfair on the ratepayers, who all, certainly in my part of the world, had a view about this. It was a major heritage issue, and we are now going to discuss an aspect of it in confidence when people have been so attached to it and so involved in its rescue over the years. So this should not be in confidence. I know it will make no difference to the way in which the team votes, but I do urge you to think carefully about putting this into confidence.
My screen's gone weird.
Councillor Couros.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make a note to Councillor Sims in regarding the matter being in confidence. I'm on the other side, opposite him. My door is closed, and I don't think that there will be a problem. We are in council and the door is closed. So just wanted to point that out, that I'm across the hall from him.
Thank you, Councillor Couros. Councillor Sims. Oh, I've asked. Is it popping up?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, sorry, Chair. I was just conscious there was literally someone right outside the door, and we're about to move into confidence, but it's all good now. They've moved, so I'm back down here, so all good.
Fantastic. Members, any other contributions to this riveting discussion? No. Well, before I go back to the mover to sum up, I might just make a very, very quick remark that, of course, there is a small private business that operates out of Lowndes Boat Shed Cafe. We are their landlord. That is why this matter is being held in confidence. It's a usual process and to hold these things in confidence when you're discussing the finances of someone's business and arrangements that you may or may not enter into them. And certainly, particularly at a time like this, I'm not going to subject a hospitality business to having open debate about what they are or are not doing and what we will or won't do to them. I think that's entirely unconscionable. No other landlord would do that. We shouldn't be doing that. And that's why I think this is right to be considered in confidence. And with that, I'll go back to Councillor Knoll to sum up. Summed up. I put that to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Councillor Moran, are you voting with us? Against? Okay, that is carried. Now I also need a mover and a seconder for 6.2, the e-scooter mobility services. So if I can get electronic hands, please. Moved by Councillor Abrahimzadeh, seconded by Councillor Knoll. Armand, did you wish to speak? Franz, did you wish to speak? Members? If not, I'll go back to Councillor Abrahimzadeh to sum up. Summed up. I put that to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? That is carried.